Shane Van Fleet with Nutrien Ag Solutions here in Western Illinois in Hancock County, Illinois. 2 days ago, we had a very detrimental storm come through with 120-mile-an-hour winds. It was a Derechos storm. Very detrimental to crop, grain bins, and machine sheds. As you can see behind me, not only is this corn flat, which was flat 2 days ago, but behind me there's some hog buildings there that were taken out. A lot of grain bins, a lot of damage done. I want to talk a little bit though about this crop and what we could do, what we should do as we're getting close to tassel time. There's a couple products that I think we really need to be looking at, and I'm going to give my reasons why. In 2012, we had a really dry year as we've had this year, as everybody knows. Headline was king back then, and we seen a huge response even with little fungal pathogen pressure that year. Everybody asks why. Everybody's been asking why this year. Why would I put fungicide on when we're so dry? Now we got some down corn. We got to save what we got, guys, and we still got potential here. Back then, you know, when Headline was king, they still have a component in there, F500. Syngenta has a component in there, carboxamide, and SDHI is the active ingredient. But those components in that fungicide, let's set aside the fungal piece for a minute. Let's talk about the stress. But what those components really do is they're able to slow ethylene production, right? As we slow ethylene production in a plant, what we're able to do is that plant will immediately start to green up as we slow ethylene. Ethylene's responsible for ripening of the crop or a fruit or whatever. So as we slow that, you start to see that plant green up. When we green up, now we're taking in energy from the sun. When we take in more energy, now we're storing carbohydrates in that plant. The other thing we're able to see is we slow transportation of water leaving that plant with those actives in those fungicides. We slow that transportation of water, which helps with respiration at night. And it's all about making this plant feel as good as it can and saving as much energy as we can. So when we do get to making grain, we have stored energy in that plant, those carbohydrates, right, that we can move to that ear. We are laying on the ground. We now got some moisture. Yes, that fungicide property or that piece of that fungicide is now becoming more critical. As we lay those plants down, we know that's wet under there. We're not getting sunlight through to kill that fungus. We're going to see more fungus on these plants. So there's a two-piece component to all these fungicides, but that stress mitigation piece and able to lower that ethylene production of that plant is really just saving energy in our plant, slowing that respiration of it so that that plant at night can respirate, slowing the transpiration, I should say, and that plant can relax at night. The other product that we got to think about if we were going to go across these fields is Radiate or Radiate Next, and I'll give my reason why. When we put IBA onto a plant, it quickly hits the leaf, and that plant converts that IBA into auxins. Auxins are a hormone for the plant. If you've seen any of my videos before, we talk about auxins do not like sunlight. They're the vampire of PGRs, right? So they go to the back side of the plant, away from the sun, and they build up. As soon as we get that rush of auxins in that plant on the back side of it, we're growing faster on the underneath side than the front. Guess what that starts doing? Starts pushing that plant up. When these plants start growing back to sunlight, that's happening. Auxins are building up on the underneath side and pushing that plant towards sunlight to gather more energy. So Radiate is a huge piece of this. We're also sending those auxins to the soil. We're stimulating those roots. We're going to get root growth, new hairs on those roots. We've talked about that for years. The IBA component is huge in Radiate Next. We've got a couple components in the Next that also help with some stress mitigation, the GABA and the choline chloride. But that Radiate or Radiate Next, getting that IBA is critical. Getting those fungicides on, whether we're dry or injured, still has a major play in this, even if you set aside the fungal piece right now. But what we can do is make these plants feel better, store that energy, get them back upright and growing right, and then we have a chance of making some grain, getting that pollination. I'll come back here in 2 weeks. I'm going to hit it again, possibly with fungicide if I see anything I don't like. Then I'm going to switch to a Terramar product that we've been talking about all year for stress mitigation. We'll talk more about that when the time comes, but don't give up on this crop, guys. This has a lot of potential out here. We just have to know what to do to help it out along the way. Stay safe. Thanks for joining.